was a time when the whole world felt too heavy, and somehow you made it feel okay. When the nights were getting colder and I couldn't sleep alone, you would hold me without asking and make the darkness feel like home. I could tell you all my secrets, all the things I couldn't say. You never tried to fix my sadness, you just stayed beside me anyway. I never knew how much I needed you until you weren't there. You were the place I ran to when everything went wrong. You were my safe place when I was falling apart. You held the broken pieces of my tired little heart. You were my safe place, the shelter from the rain. I never thought the safest place could ever cause this pain. Now I'm learning how to stand where you once held my hand. I still remember rainy mornings when we'd stay beneath the sheets. You'd make coffee in the kitchen while I listened to your heartbeat. We didn't need expensive moments, we didn't need a perfect life. Just your hand resting on my shoulder made everything feel right. I thought I'd found forever in the quiet things you did, but forever isn't promised, even when it feels so real. Sometimes the person who protects you is the one you have to heal from. You were my safe place, my shelter from the storm. You made me feel protected, you made the world feel warm. You were my safe place, and maybe that's why it hurts, because losing you felt like losing the place where I felt worth. I still search for you whenever life gets hard. Who do I call when I'm breaking? Who do I run to now? Who will know I'm hurting without me saying how? I spent so long believing that safety had your name, but maybe I have to learn to become my own safe place. Maybe love isn't always someone who promises to stay. Sometimes it's learning how to hold yourself when they walk away. You were my safe place, and I'll always honor that. For every night you held me, for every time you brought me back. You were my safe place, but I can't live there anymore. thank you for being my shelter for a little while. You were my safe place. You walked away that morning, but somehow I was the one who carried the goodbye. I watched you pack your suitcase while the morning slowly came. You folded all your memories and left without a name. I stood beside the doorway, trying hard to understand why the person I loved most was slipping through my hands. You said maybe it's for the best, but I couldn't make it true. You left with all your reasons, I stayed with all the pain. You found a road to somewhere I couldn't find again. I carried the goodbye long after you were gone. I carried every question through every lonely dawn. I carried the goodbye like a weight against my chest. You walked away so easily, while I was left with all the rest. You left the ending with me. And I carried it alone. I kept your old messages, though I knew I shouldn't read. I kept the little promises that you no longer needed. I passed our favorite places and remembered who we were. Every street became a memory, every song became a blur. I told everyone I'm healing, but nobody knew the truth. 'Cause every time the night came, I could still feel your hand. And every morning without you was harder than I planned. I carried the goodbye through every changing season. I carried without letting you hold me. I carried the goodbye until it became my own. I carried all the sadness until I learned to let it go. I carried the goodbye, but I don't have to anymore. Your memory can stay behind me without standing at my door. You were once my forever. Now you're part of my past, and the goodbye I carry doesn't have to last. I carry your goodbye through the rain, through the nights, through every lonely morning. But tonight I'm putting it down. I'm finally putting it down. Goodbye. I don't have to carry you anymore. We didn't fall apart all at once. Love just got tired, and one night it couldn't stay awake. We used to talk until the sunrise, with our hands beneath the sheets. You'd whisper all your dreams to me, and I'd listen to your heartbeat. We promised we'd keep choosing each other every day, but somewhere in the middle we forgot what love would say. The nights became much quieter, the laughter disappeared. You stopped asking where I'd been, I stopped asking how you felt. We were standing next to each other, but slowly losing ourselves. Love couldn't stay awake, it slowly closed its eyes, while we were busy pretending everything was still alright. Love couldn't stay awake, it faded through the night. We held each other loosely until we couldn't hold on tight. There was no final explosion, no reason we could blame. Love simply fell asleep and never woke again. Your side of the bed grew colder, your voice became a distant sound. We stopped making future plans and stopped looking around. I kept the lights on for you long after you stopped coming home. I told myself you needed time while learning how to be alone. I wanted to wake our love, but you were already gone. Maybe There was no one to blame, only two hearts letting go. If I could return to that evening when your eyes stopped looking mine, I would hold you just a little longer and ask you not to hide. But maybe love needs more than feeling. Maybe it needs two hearts to try, and we were both too tired to keep asking why. So I won't wake you anymore. I won't chase what is already gone. Sometimes the kindest goodbye is letting someone sleep on. Love couldn't stay awake, but I will remember how it felt when your arms were once my shelter, when your love was all I needed. Love couldn't stay awake, and maybe that's okay. Some beautiful things are only meant to stay for a little while. We didn't lose our love in one heartbreaking day. It quietly closed its eyes and slipped away. Good night, my love. Good night to everything we were. I won't wake you, I won't ask you to stay. Love couldn't stay awake, so I'll let it sleep, and I'll learn to dream again without you. We didn't fall apart all at once. Love just got tired, and one night it couldn't stay awake. We used to talk until the sunrise, with our hands beneath the sheets. You'd whisper all your dreams to me, and I'd listen to your heartbeat. We promised we'd keep choosing each other every day, but somewhere in the middle we forgot what love would say. The nights became much quieter, the laughter disappeared. You stopped asking where I'd been, I stopped asking how you felt. We were standing next to each other, but slowly losing ourselves. Love couldn't stay awake. We thought distance was only measured in miles, but somehow it learned our names. We started with a promise that the miles wouldn't win. You said you'd wait forever, I said I'd never give in. We counted every weekend, we planned the days we'd meet. Your voice became my shelter when the nights felt incomplete. I kept your photograph beside my bed at night. But slowly calls got shorter and messages came late. We stopped talking about tomorrow and started talking about fate. The distance learned our names. It knew the sound of every goodbye. It knew the tears behind our voices. It knew the reasons why. The distance learned our names and slowly pulled us far apart. It turned 1,000 little miles into an ocean through my heart. We tried to cross the space between us, but the space kept growing. I watched the seasons changing through a window you weren't in. Summer turned to autumn while we tried to start again. Your pictures looked the same, but your eyes felt far away. I couldn't feel your heartbeat through a screen that every day became a little colder than the one before. I asked you if you love me. You said of course I do. But love sounded different when I couldn't reach you. The distance learned our names. It knew every road we'd take. It knew how we'd say I miss you and how our promises would break. The distance learned our names until we became strangers. Two hearts still saying I love you while slowly becoming strangers. We weren't fighting anymore. We were simply fading. Maybe love can cross an ocean. Maybe some hearts can survive. But ours became exhausted from constantly asking why. I don't blame the distance. I don't blame you or me. Sometimes two people can love each other and still not be meant to be. I wish I could have held you one final time that day, before the miles between us learned how to make you fade. The distance learned our names, and now it knows them by heart. It knows how we once loved each other and how we fell apart. The distance learned our names, but I won't hate it anymore, because every mile between us taught me what I was fighting for. You were once across the distance. Now you're across my memories. And somehow that's even farther. I still know your name. I still remember your voice. I still remember us, but the distance distance learned our names and taught us how to say goodbye. Some loves don't disappear, they simply become too far away. Some endings close a door, but some love keeps walking through the silence. I knew the day was coming when you'd stop reaching for me. I felt it in the silence, in the things you wouldn't say. We used to talk about forever, like it was ours to keep. But somewhere in the quiet, forever fell asleep. I watched you slowly leave me while standing by my side. I could have blamed you, I could have walked away, but my heart still remembered every beautiful yesterday. I love beyond the ending, beyond the final goodbye, beyond the empty mornings and the tears I couldn't hide. I love beyond the ending, when there was nothing left to hold. I carried what we once were, long after you let go. You became a memory, but my heart didn't know. Kept the little moments like treasures in a drawer. Your laughter in the kitchen, your footsteps by the door. I remembered rainy evenings when you would hold me close, the way you said you loved me before we became ghosts. I knew our story ended, but I wasn't ready to forget. There were nights I still imagined your hand reaching for mine, even though I knew the distance had already drawn the line. I love beyond the ending, beyond the slowly turn to gray. I love beyond the ending, when our future disappeared. I kept loving who we were, even when you weren't here. Some love doesn't need tomorrow to prove that it was real. Maybe that's the strange thing about love. You were not my forever, but you were part of my forever. And I'll always be grateful for the love we once knew. I love beyond the ending, and now I finally understand. Love isn't always holding on. Sometimes it's opening your hands. I love beyond the ending, but I don't have to stay there. I can carry all the beautiful memories without carrying despair. You were once my greatest love. Now you're a chapter I can close. And even after everything ended, I know I loved you beyond the ending. Maybe someday I won't remember the pain, only the warmth, only the laughter, only the girl I was when you loved me. I love beyond the ending, and now I can finally love myself beyond it too. Goodbye, goodbye. The world goes quiet at midnight, but somehow your memory never sleeps. I turn the lights off slowly and close my bedroom door. I tell myself I'm tired, like I've done 1,000 times before. But when the room gets quiet, your voice comes back to me like an old familiar song that refuses to leave. I close my eyes to forget you, but that's when I see you most. I thought the time would heal me, I thought the years would fade, but memories have their own hearts, and they don't know how to change. Your memory never sleeps. It finds me in the night. It walks through all my dreams and turns the darkness into light. Your memory never sleeps, no matter how far I go. I can change the places around me, but I can't change what I know. You may be gone from my life, but you're still awake inside my heart. I hear you laughing, strangers. I see your face in crowded streets. A certain song can take me back to where we used to be. I pass our favorite coffee shop and remember rainy days. You'd hold my hand beneath the table, and I'd forget the world away. Those little moments stayed behind, even when you didn't. I don't know why the smallest things can hurt the deepest way. A photograph, a familiar scent, a word you used to say. Your memory never sleeps, it follows me around. It hides inside the quiet, where no one else can hear the sound. Your memory never sleeps, it lives beneath my skin. I can learn to live without you, but I can't erase where you've been. You may have found another life, but part of you still lives in mine. Maybe someday I'll wake up and your name won't hurt at all. Maybe your photograph will simply be a picture on the wall. Maybe I'll remember you without wishing you were here. Maybe I'll think about our love and feel gratitude instead of tears. Until that day, I'll let the memories come. I don't have to fight them, I only have to let them pass. Your memory never sleeps, but neither will I. I'll keep moving through the darkness toward another morning sky. Your memory never sleeps, and maybe that's okay. Some memories don't need to disappear to let our hearts move on someday. You were once my everything, now you're a beautiful part of me. And even though I miss you, I'm finally learning how to breathe. The night is getting quieter, the world is falling asleep, but your memory still whispers my name. Maybe it never sleeps, maybe it never has to. Good night, my love, wherever you are. Good night, my love, wherever you are. There was no goodbye, no broken glass, no final fight. We just grew apart quietly. I noticed it on Monday when you barely looked my way. You kissed me without feeling, like a habit from another day. We sat across the table with nothing left to say. Two people sharing silence where love had filled the space. I asked you how your day was. You said fine and looked away. There were no angry voices, no reason to accuse, just little pieces disappearing from the things we used to do. We grew apart quietly, like winter leaves the trees. No one heard the moment when you stopped needing me. We grew apart quietly, one day at a time. You were standing next to me, but somehow you weren't mine. There was no ending we could point to, no single day to blame. We just became two strangers who still knew each other's names. You stopped sending me pictures of the things that made you smile. I stopped telling you my secrets and pretending I was fine. Our favorite songs kept playing, but they sounded different then. The places where we used to laugh felt empty once again. I watched you change so slowly, I almost didn't see. Maybe love doesn't always break, sometimes it simply fades, like sunlight leaving slowly from a room at end of day. We grew apart quietly, without a single fight. We lost the little moments that used to make things right. We grew apart quietly until we couldn't pretend. We were holding on to something that had already reached its end. You weren't cruel, I wasn't wrong. We just stopped belonging. I wish we talked about it sooner. I wish we'd asked each other why. Maybe we could have saved the distance before it became our life. But sometimes two hearts change in ways they cannot explain, and holding on together only makes the leaving harder. So I won't turn you into a villain, and I won't blame myself forever. We were beautiful for a season. Maybe that was enough. We grew apart quietly, and now I understand. Not every love is meant to stay. No matter how hard we planned, we grew apart quietly. But I will keep the good, the mornings, all the laughter, the way you once understood. There was no dramatic ending, just two hearts letting go. And sometimes that's the hardest goodbye to know. I still remember who we were before the silence came, before your hand stopped reaching, before I forgot the sound of your name. We grew apart quietly, and maybe that's okay. Some love doesn't end with anger, it simply fades away. Quietly, quietly. I changed the city, I changed my number, I changed everything I could, but I couldn't outrun the pain. I packed my bags on Sunday and left before the rain. I thought a different highway could take me far away. I drove until the sunrise with nothing on the seat, but every mile I traveled still brought you back to me. I thought I'd find a place where your memory couldn't reach, but every quiet morning still sounded like your voice, and every empty room reminded me of what I'd lost. I couldn't outrun the pain, no matter where I went. I crossed 1,000 miles, but never crossed the distance. I couldn't outrun the pain, it followed like a shadow. I changed the world around me, but my heart still wouldn't let go. I thought leaving you behind would finally set me free, but the pain was already inside of me. I found a little apartment in a city by the sea. I bought new sheets and curtains and tried to become someone new. I met some different people, I laughed a little more, but when the night came quietly, I still remembered yours. Your name lived in the silence between every breath I took. I told myself that healing was simply moving on, but running from a memory doesn't make the memory gone. I couldn't outrun the pain, I couldn't disappear. I could cross every ocean and still feel you near. I couldn't outrun the pain, no road could take it away, 'cause every place I traveled still carried yesterday. I was running from the ending, but the ending lived in me. And one night I finally stopped and listened to my heart. I realized the pain wasn't trying to tear me apart. It was only asking me to remember what was real, to stop running from the wound and finally let it heal. I didn't need another city, I didn't need another name. I needed to forgive myself for still feeling all this pain. So I stayed and let myself feel everything. I couldn't outrun the pain, so I stopped trying to run. I let the tears fall freely until the morning sun. I couldn't outrun the pain, but I could learn to breathe. I could carry what happened without letting it bury me. You will always be a chapter that changed the shape of me, but you don't have to be the ending of my story. I changed the city, I crossed the distance, I searched for somewhere I could finally forget, but I didn't need to outrun the pain. I only needed to face it and let it go. I'm still here and I'm finally free. I kept waiting for your heart to find its way back to mine, but maybe love went somewhere else. You still came home beside me, you still slept on my side, you still said that you loved me, but something lived behind your eyes. I felt you getting distant long before you said goodbye, like your heart had found a doorway and quietly walked outside. I held your hand more tightly, hoping you would stay. I asked you if you missed me, you smiled and said of course, but I could feel the answer was already somewhere else. Love went somewhere else, and I couldn't make it stay. I gave you all my yesterday, you gave me empty days. Love went somewhere else, somewhere I couldn't follow. You were standing in my arms, but your heart was somewhere tomorrow. I kept believing we were us, while you were learning how to leave. I noticed little changes in the way you said my name. The kisses became shorter, the nights were not the same. You stopped telling me your secrets, I stopped asking what was wrong. We were both afraid to say it, so we stayed quiet too long. I could see the ending before you spoke the words. Maybe I was holding loving us. I wish I could have followed where your heart decided to go. Maybe then I would understand why you had to let me go. But love is not a prison, and hearts cannot be forced. Sometimes someone leaves your life without becoming the villain. So I'll stop asking where you went. I'll stop asking what I lacked. Somewhere beyond our ending, love found another path. Love went somewhere else, and now I understand. I can't hold someone forever with a heart I cannot command. Love went somewhere else, but mine is coming home, back to the woman I forgot while trying not to be alone. You were once my everything, but I don't need you to stay to prove that what we had was real. Maybe love didn't disappear. Maybe it simply changed direction. Maybe it went somewhere else. And maybe so will I. Goodbye to the love we were. Hello to the life I'm becoming. I left the porch light on for longer than I should have. You said you'd come back, but you never came back home. I heard the rain against the window on the night you drove away. You said you needed some time. You said you'd be back someday. I watched your headlights disappear at the end of our old street. I held on to every promise like it was all I had to keep. I thought I'd hear your footsteps outside the door again. Every night I listened for the sound of your old car. Every passing shadow made me wonder where you are. You never came back home, and I waited by the door. I kept your side of the bedroom just the way it was before. You never came back home, and I kept believing why, that someday you'd walk through the doorway and tell me you were sorry for goodbye. I left the light on for you, but you never came back home. Your jacket stayed stayed behind me, hanging where you left it there. I couldn't move your photograph, I couldn't touch your empty chair. I made coffee every morning, then remembered there were two. For a little while each evening, I still expected you. The house became a memory before I knew it had. I stopped telling people that I thought you'd return, because sometimes hope is painful when there's nothing left to learn. You never came back home, and the seasons passed me by. When it turned into springtime, while I kept asking why, you never came back home. And I finally understood. Some people leave the doorway, never do what they said they would. I waited for your footsteps until I forgot my own. Maybe you found another place, maybe you found another heart, maybe you became someone I would never recognize. And maybe I was foolish for keeping the porch light bright, but I was only trying to keep our love alive. Tonight I'm turning off the light, not because I don't care, but because I finally understand you're not coming back there, and that's okay. I don't have to wait anymore. You never came back home, but I finally came back to me. I stopped standing by the doorway and started learning how to breathe. You never came back home, and now I can't let you go. The house is still and quiet, but it doesn't feel like a ghost. I left the light on for years. Tonight I let it fade, not because our love wasn't real, but because I'm ready for a new day. The porch is dark tonight, the door is finally closed. Your photograph is still here, but I don't need it anymore. You never came